Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Hi, Snuppy. How are you doing? Also, Probot Stampy. How you doing? Uh, I am very underprepared today. I have been so busy recently with work and other things. Like this past Sunday, I had to wake up for work at 5 a.m. and I normally work like a Monday to Friday job. I don't ever work weekends. This is how busy I've been. And this is already an unscripted show, and now I'm having even less time to jot down the few notes I do take. So bear with me today, but I have a lot to talk about. This is a topic that is going to have a lot going on. My name is Hammy, and welcome to Critical Inking. If you don't know what this is, because there are people who are in chat who I know don't play Splatoon, this is the show where I promote critical thinking and collaboration within the community to try to tackle a bunch of different topics that are kind of, plaguing the competitive Splatoon scene. Today, if you haven't noticed, is on Splatoon's viewership. Why does competitive Splatoon not get a lot of viewers? So I am going to open up with a very simple question. A very, very simple question. And this is a question that I have asked a lot of people in the production side of the competitive Splatoon scene. I have asked this to people who are streamers, I've asked this to commentators, I've asked this to a lot of people, and none of them have given me an immediate response, and some haven't given me a response at all. That question is, who is supposed to watch competitive Splatoon? Very simple question. Who is supposed to watch competitive Splatoon? Do any of you know? Can any of you think of an immediate answer? This should not be a big thing, but I think we're at a point where a lot of people in the scene cannot answer this question. So, our target audience for competitive Splatoon is incorrect. I'm going to have a little personal anecdote here. I am a huge fan of esports. I watch a lot of Rocket League. I watch classic Tetris. I used to watch a lot of Smite, some League of Legends, even a little bit of Valorant and PUBG, CS:GO. Esports are great. I love esports. I watch it all the time. Well, not all the time anymore. I'm busy, but I'm a huge fan of esports. Up until recently, I don't really watch competitive Splatoon. I do a little bit more now, but for the most of my competitive Splatoon career, I have not watched competitive Splatoon. So my second question is, what makes me watch other esports but not Splatoon? Simply, I play Splatoon. I don't play these other esports. I watch them, but I play Splatoon. And that is the fundamental issue right now with some of the competitive Splatoon scene in terms of viewership. We are marketing and advertising to the competitive scene. What we should be advertising to is the Splatoon casuals, the people who don't play competitive Splatoon, the people who own the game and think it's fun and are willing to interact with that content. We need to advertise to the esports scene as a whole. There are a lot of people like me who just watch esports because they're fun. There are days where I go on Twitch and I just go to the esports tag and start watching esports. And, there's such an untapped market out there. But the issue is that we are marketing towards competitive Splatoon players. And that poses a massive problem. We are trying to make better tournaments right now. That is the big goal in the comp scene. We are trying to make tournaments that people want to play and that people want to watch. What happens when the people that we are marketing to are supposed to play in those tournaments and watch them at the same time. We are dividing our target audience in half. Also, Gladius, to your question there, maybe it's because Splatoon is a game meant for a younger audience, probably isn't going to watch high-level play. There are a lot of other competitive games that have a lot of viewership. And you say that, too, as if, like, a game like Call of Duty doesn't have a bunch of kids watching it. Or games like CSGO, like Valorant, like these games that are for adults still have a young audience. And Splatoon has a very old audience. I know a lot of people who play Splatoon who are in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s. It can be difficult to advertise because of, like, the outer shell of the game looks childish. But you have to also see, you know, how massive things like Minecraft and Roblox and stuff that looks like it's for kids are, but there's such a vast audience there. I don't think that hurdle is going to affect it as much as people may think. But yeah, so one of the problems is that we are advertising to the competitive community. And so we are taking the pool of competitive players and saying, okay, you can either play or you can watch. And we're actively trying to make them want to play more. And so we're losing viewership as we gain entrance to things. And that's a fundamental problem. So the very easy, obvious thing to do is to market to the casual audience, market to the audience who've never heard of Splatoon or don't play Splatoon, and they might have an interest in watching. We need to make them see how good it is. And so, now that we understand the target audience, and if anything today, that is the takeaway. The takeaway today is that we are marketing to the wrong audience. So if you want to leave this stream at any point early, you can leave now. That is the fundamental takeaway. We need to advertise to the casuals and to the people who don't play Splatoon. End of story, period, done. Easy. Now, time to ramble for like 2 more hours, but how we do that. Oh, K-Bot. IMO, it's a core Splatoon is a casual game where there's very little motivation provided to a player to improve. Self-improvement in the activity is one of the key forces driving others to watch esports. They want to watch the best to learn from them. That can be very true. And I do, it's within the realm of players, I see that, because I'm going to go into it a little bit later. I asked some competitive players, you know, how they feel about viewing stuff, and the general consensus was that, yes, they like to watch higher level play so they can learn from it. But there is also an audience who's not trying to learn. Look at me. I watch a lot of games that I don't even own the games that I'm watching because I like the competition. I like following those storylines. There's a lot to be gained from just enjoying competition in a game that you might not otherwise play. So it's not, you know, it's not one simple, like, this is who is going to watch. There is going to be a lot of nuance in the audience, and not everyone watches something for the same reasons. But that being said, yes, there is going to be that aspect to it where there are going to be people who want to improve at it, but because of the casual nature of Splatoon, as you mentioned, it lacks that quality versus like a you know, CSGO or Valorant, like or League of Legends, those big ones that have a lot bigger of a player base. Yeah, exactly. Imagine if we had storylines. I'm gonna delve into that a lot later. So now that we know who our target audience is, we need to think of, well, how do we make them watch? How do we make them do it? And there are basically, the way that I look at it, there are 2 components to viewership or increasing viewership as a whole. There is attraction and there is retention. We need to attract the players, viewers, to come to our scene. We need to say, hey, look, Splatoon is fun to watch. Come watch it. That is attraction. We just need to bring the numbers in. And then retention, which is equally as important, is keeping them here. It doesn't matter how much we bring in viewers. If they come here and go, wow, that was boring, and leave, we're not going to grow. So we need to bring in viewers and we need to keep the viewers. And those are the kind of the 2 fundamental parts of viewership as a whole. So I'm going to a lot of what I talk about today is going to be within those two topics. I will definitely have some things to cover that are kind of an overall, like things that will improve both, things that will, bring people in and keep them here. And obviously, because of the collaborative nature of critical inking in terms of, me recommending, everyone in chat, ask questions, bring up topics, bring up ideas, like, kind of bounce back and forth with me here. There will be times we go off topic and jump back and forth, but in terms of my actual list of topics I have to talk about, which again isn't complete because I've been busy, there is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag today, but everything is going to be on the topic of increasing viewership, and there's a lot of things that we could be doing as a scene, a lot of things we can strive for, and just there's so much to unpack here. I think there's a lot that just isn't even like considered when it comes to increasing viewership. So I am just going to probably start talking about attraction because that is the important part. That is, how do we bring in viewers in the first place? Because we are struggling with it. And immediately, like, please, advertising. We need to advertise. We do not do that. Even within our scene, there are people who play competitive Splatoon who don't even know events are happening. If we don't know that our own events are happening, if the people that are here don't know, how is anyone else going to know? Genuinely, we need to get people into the competitive Splatoon pipeline. And there are so many ways to advertise. It can be simple. It can be easy. We need people to just fall into the rabbit hole that is competitive Splatoon. Now, obviously, there are the grand ways of advertising. Posting on social media. What are the prizes for events, even if there are? It really depends on different events. Gladius, I know you don't watch competitive Splatoon at all. Some events have cash prizes. Some have things called Sendo badges, which are badges on a site called Sendo.inc, which most of our tournaments are hosted. Some have like art prizes or just like little things, just like Discord roles. It really depends on the scale of the tournament. Typically, our larger events usually do have just cash prizes that are built upon by whichever way, depends on the tournament. If it's a LAN, maybe some of the ticket, like the spectator passes and the competitor passes, that money goes in the pool, or it's just out of the pocket of TOs on a lot of cases. So there is prizing, but it's nothing that grand because we don't have the budget to have anything that grand. All right, so advertising. What's the biggest prize been given? I actually don't know. I've seen prize pools in Splatoon be over, like, it's in the thousands for sure. I'm assuming Nintendo, I don't know, do Nintendo World Championships give high prizes? I'll have to get someone to tell me that, because I know they give like a custom controller and trophy, but I feel like they probably kind of skim the players in terms of money. But yeah, so in the terms of advertising, there's obvious ones. Posting on social media. We don't do enough of that. There is not enough of that. And when it's done, it is done very poorly. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen IPL post the tournament is happening, our biggest org that does tournaments, and they don't even use like any hashtags, like hashtag Splatoon or comp Splatoon or anything. They don't push it out there. The only people that are going to see that is people who are following them. And the people who are following them are already in the IPL Discord and already signed up to the tournaments. That doesn't do anything. It's not productive. Nintendo does not give cash prizes. Yeah, okay, they do pay for the trip, though. So at least they do that. But yeah, cash prizes in Splatoon are inconsistent. And usually I don't think that the prizes are going to increase the stakes enough that viewers will want to watch. I think it's good incentive for players. But we're not going to have, like, $1 million cash prizes like bigger esports. We are still very grassroots. What else? Yeah, so We need more advertisement in a general level on, social media. We need even like where are the TikTok accounts for our TO groups? Does IPL have a TikTok? Does Dapple have a TikTok? Do they have Reddit? Do they like post about tournaments on Reddit in general for Splatoon players or just interested viewers and esports players to find? We need more just general social media and website advertising. There's so many places to put stuff. Heck, are any of us using squid boards anymore? Do you know how many casual Splatoon players probably go here? Like, this is where I found out when competitive Splatoon was. I just looked up Splatoon forums probably, or like how to find Splatoon players, like looking for group, and ended up here. And then, there's probably other people who do that. They just look up, oh, I wonder if Splatoon has stuff. Now, there's also other... IPL does, but it's not active. Okay, so at least they have an account. That's step one, but step two is using it. Now, there are more subtle ways to advertise, which I also want to point out, because everyone's going to keep harping about advertising, and there's so much I could say about it, but I think it's mostly redundant because I'm not into marketing. I'm not good at advertising per se. The more subtle ways are important. We need to increase the amount that we are advertising, or like, the quantity of places that we're advertising in. Here's a perfect example of subtle advertising. Let's say I'm a casual Splatoon fan. I'm on Blue Sky, and I've just typed in #Splatoon. I'm looking at Splatoon stuff, and I'm looking in there, and I go, oh, this is some cute art. This is nice. Okay, Ambird, they seem interesting. I'm going to look at their profile and go, oh, like this is, okay, here's their shop, their comms, their links, like, great. And then I'm looking here, like, oh, what's this? What's this in their bio? And I go here. You get to Warm Regards, Comp Splatoon team. You go, interesting. I didn't know Splatoon had competitive. And then you start looking further. You start looking through their accounts. You look at the players. You Google competitive Splatoon. And then you end up in the rabbit hole. What we are trying to do here is we're trying to get people to fall in the rabbit hole of competitive Splatoon. This goes for finding competitive players or even just finding viewers. So our job right now is to dig that rabbit hole deeper and make it wider so that you don't just step on it and don't even notice it. You fall in. There's no way to avoid it. It is a minefield of rabbit holes. Because this is one of those things that, artists in our scene can do, for example, is just, poster art, like, here's some of Luna's art, again, just on #Splatoon. You might stumble across this. You go to look at the artist page and, oh, what's this? Splatoon LAN art. Oh, there's Splatoon LANs? Interesting. And then you start looking at Splatoon LANs and you learn about Riptide and LTC and all these other things. But we need more of that. When I went to do this example, I went to Tori's Blue Sky page. No mention of competitive Splatoon. No mention of Rubber Remix. I went to Bugs' page. He does mention Rubber Remix, but doesn't link to their Blue Sky or anything. Just says the team name. I tried Silver, Splatford. They also don't mention competitive Splatoon. And now I'm not saying that all of our artists need to put competitive Splatoon in their bios and like link to everything. I know that you guys are all trying to make money and run businesses. I understand it. But this is an example of subtle, simple, easy advertising. You just put something in your bio, put something in your pinned comment, just like leave a hint at it. Let people know it exists, and then people will eventually stumble into it. And when they stumble into it, they're going to fall down the rabbit hole. And that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of advertising, is we need to bring in as many people as possible. Now, on that note of advertising and like letting people know about things, and again, this is just general, like tournaments need to also just, leave advertisements for things. But like I said, going in, I don't want to go too deep into like how you can advertise, because I think it's really up to the orgs themselves to figure that out. It shouldn't, I'm not going to say I have all the answers. There are creative ways to advertise. Again, I'm not good at promotional stuff has never been my strong suit, because I'm very laid back in terms of, posting online. Also, I missed a message from Z while I was doing all my stuff on screen. We hyper focus on using Discord for everything and assumed the average person would find it if they wanted. And that is another thing I want to point out about advertising before I move on. The Splatoon scene, we are structured in a way that if you, like, the way I found Splatoon was easy. I bought the game because I saw advertisements for it. I was like, this game looks awesome. I didn't buy a Wii U, so I was sad for years. Splatoon 2 came out. I bought a Switch just to play Splatoon 2 because I really thought it looked fun. Within a week of buying the game, I said, I want to play this competitively. So I went to, like, Squid Boards. I found it online just by Googling, like, Splatoon looking for members. Found people to play with. I got introduced to the Splatoon scene. I found, what was it? Splatoon Crossroad or whatever server that is, where it has a link to all the servers. I sought it out, and it was easy to find. And it still is. I'm pretty sure right now, if you Google Splatoon tournaments, Sendo.inc is one of the top results. It will show up. Or at least for me it did, but also it might be biased because I'm a Splatoon player, so it knows I look up Splatoon stuff. But it's possible to find if you search it out. We shouldn't have to make them search out or to look for it because people don't know it exists. It's the same in the scene. There are times where there are big tournaments that happen and nobody knows. Barnacle Bash 6 was equally as stacked as the Sendo Q Season 7 finals. And it happened like a week before. And nobody heard of it till after it happened. Because if you know Barnacle Bash is happening, you search Barnacle Bash and you'll find it. But if you don't know what's happening, how do you know how to search for it? You can't. And that's what's happening right now. People don't know competitive Splatoon exists. So how can they search for it if they don't know that they're looking for it in the first place? And that is the point of advertisement. It is to give people a reason to go, oh, I want to watch this. And now that seed is in their brains. It sounds like most advertisement exposure is very intentional. I would never know it even exists if you didn't switch to my pick. Exactly. And Gladius is a perfect example. For those who don't know, I used to play a lot of Minecraft. I played Minecraft I've been playing Minecraft since 2010. On and off. And I've kind of, stopped a couple years ago. And when I left the Minecraft space, I had a lot of projects I passed out to people. A lot of people knew who I was, and I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. And then I was like, I'm becoming a competitive Splatoon player again because I had taken a break from playing competitive Splatoon for a couple of years. And that now people in that space know that competitive Splatoon exists, and that's the only way they do because they never would have heard otherwise. And so that wasn't me advertising to them, hey, competitive Splatoon is cool and you should watch it. That was some of that passive advertisement where I mentioned it, and then now they all know it exists. And when they come back to look at what I do, they're like, oh, okay, this is real. LSL 50 redo happened past weekend and completely missed it. Very active. Exactly. The LSL redo event. The only reason I knew it existed was because I'm in the LSL Discord and the LSL streaming / staff Discord for commentary. And even then I almost forgot about it because there's just a lack of advertising, and both internally and externally in the community. And so, yeah, that is something that will have to be worked on in all regards. TOs or advertising their tournaments to the community and outside the community in varying ways. And there can be a lot more discussion online about it. Again, if any of you watching live, VOD, whatever, if you have ideas for interesting, cool, and trying to think ways that people can advertise their events that will actually get out there, feel free to go on social media using hashtag critical inking and share your thoughts. Just the point of this is to spark discussion. If you think of cool ways to market tournaments, let us know. If you know how to market, if there's anyone here in the competitive Splatoon scene who has a marketing or promotional background or a degree or something, I pray to you, go to an org like IPL or DAPL or any big org and say, hey, I want to join you as a marketing specialist. And the scene will grow exponentially. Please. Yeah, so share your thoughts if you have ideas on advertising, because again, I could sit here for like another hour and just talk about ways they could advertise, and realistically a lot of them aren't that innovative. But one way that I do want to talk about to advertise and kind of segue this is content, and lots of it. I'm not even talking about quality of content. I'm talking quantity. We need more content. And I'm not talking we need more tournament streams. No. We do, technically. But we need just content in general, period. We need VODs of people playing. We need people live streaming, playing the game. You know, their tournament POVs, scrims, all this other stuff. But we need more than that. We need competitive players who are also artists to do speed paints. We need people to make podcasts. We need people to make game shows. We need people to make tier lists, analysis videos, coaching like VODs, events, fun PBs, gimmicks. Gimmick tournaments are like even like PBs that have the same vibe as a gimmick tournament. We need content. Make an event where competitive players, or you take competitive players and invite them to do Splatoon with a worth full price, increase exposure is an idea. By that, I'm assuming, do you mean like make a tournament with like a high price tag or like a big prize pool? Because the issue with that is, where's the budget come from? We don't have sponsors. We don't have a lot of money to throw at events, or at least a lot of people don't. A lot of Splatoon players are broke, which is the reality of it, because there's a lot of students and a lot of other people who just aren't fortunate enough to throw handfuls of cash into prize pools just to bring people in. Unless you meant, oh, competitive gamers invite them to do Splatoon. Do you mean like other competitive gamers outside of the Splatoon sphere and bring them in? That would be interesting. If you mean like bring like big streamers and other people into... Yeah, okay, yeah. So bring like other like streamers and stuff. That's a possibility. But the difficulty is finding those people who are willing to do that, especially if we don't have the budget. But that is a perfect example of content that needs to be thought of, needs to be made. Because like I'm saying, we don't just need tournament streams and that's it. We need content. We're going back to this rabbit hole. We need just variety. Here's an example, that something that goes to the advertising thing too. For those of you who went to Riptide 2024, or let's take a step back further, LTC 2024, Low Tide City, Hypercube, one of my favorite people, hosted Splatoon Jeopardy. We had a outdoor game of Jeopardy on a projector that was just like Splatoon themed Jeopardy. It was a fun event they put on, and a lot of people came out to watch it. It was very fun. The crowd was huge. Everyone was excited. It was a good time. So good, in fact, that at Riptide 2024, Hype then hosted a Splatoon Family Feud, or Squidly Feud, as it was called, on the main stream. Huge audience there watching. We had popular low-level teams. We had well-known higher-level players as contestants. It was a good show. That right there is the perfect example of the content we need to bring in people to the competitive Splatoon scene. Because it is fun Splatoon content that any casual person will enjoy. It is a good introductory thing to Splatoon because it's very casual, easy to digest, but it features a lot of competitive players who know a lot about the game, who are known people that you can go look up on social media. You can find VODs of them playing, and you'll frequently see them in tournaments going forward. And so, like I said, this is a perfect piece of promotional material for the competitive Splatoon scene. Now, where can you find this? The answer is you can find Squidly Feud at 10 hours and 54 seconds into a 12-hour VOD from Riptide 2024 Day 1 that is not uploaded on YouTube, but only in their live section from a stream 9 months ago. This is an amazing piece of promotional content, an amazing piece of content in general just for IPL to have, and they left it only in the full 12-hour stream that's not even in the videos tab. So it will never see the light of day. The only way that people will find this is if they go to watch that VOD because their team played in it, or they remember Squidly Feud from in person. So, which means that no one will ever find this unless it is sought out actively. And even then, I was there in the front row, and I couldn't find this until like recently when I was like, wait a minute, maybe they have the full live stream. Because here's the thing. In the video section, I'm not sure if I can find them now because it's going to be very far away. Yeah, here it is. They broke up the VODs. They didn't post the full VOD. They broke it up into every single match. They only kept the full stream for the B stream that was on Splatoon Tourney. So if you don't look at the live tab and then scroll down 9 months down, you will never find that VOD because do you see my problem here? My hair's getting messed up because I'm so annoyed. It's so simple. I understand that TOing is difficult, running an org is difficult, and there's all this is volunteer work, so it's impossible to ask for more a lot of the time. But sometimes these steps are so simple. It's relatively simple things. Again, going back to putting just mentions of competitive Splatoon, sprinkling it in there in like the description of a video, in the bio of your social media accounts, bringing it up with friends. It's a relatively like small, simple, quick thing. And to see things like this where so much effort goes into it and then it not be utilized is unfortunate. Think of how many like TikTok clips or Twitch clips or YouTube shorts could have been made from that single game of Squidly Feud, and instead it just kind of sits there in the ether. So we need more content. And like I said, not just competitive content. It needs to be just anything Splatoon related. It can be anything your heart desires. We just need more of it, because what's going to happen is people are going to find it. Even this series, this podcast is catered to Splatoon competitive players. There's no value that this will provide to people who are not competitive Splatoon players, because why do they care about the issues that the competitive Splatoon scene has? Why do they care that we have low viewership? Why would they care that, we have too many tournaments? That's not something that factors into them. But because I am making this podcast, what if it ends up in somebody's feed? What if somebody has a recommended video that says, why does competitive Splatoon have so low viewers? And it's like, there's competitive Splatoon? What's competitive Splatoon? And then they fall in the rabbit hole. It all comes back to the rabbit hole. We need to just introduce the concept of competitive Splatoon into people's minds. And then that will get them to, come over here and to check out the scene and to start watching our events. And that's where the advertising comes in too, because once they come here, if we introduce competitive Splatoon to somebody, how are they going to find our streams? Where are they going to find IPL's live streams and their schedule of when they're going to be streaming? When are they going to find Dapple? When are they going to find MIT? When are they going to find any of these big orgs? Splatoon Tourney did it great. They literally just called themselves Splatoon Tourney. You know, that's some of that micro advertising I'm talking about. You know, Falco said it himself before. He's like, I want something that's easy to find by accident. You type in Splatoon Tournament and Splatoon Tourney will probably pop up. Right moments at right timings. Yeah, and that's sometimes that's the case, is people just happen to look in the right place, the right time, and they will find it. But I think that relies too much on luck, whereas we need that conscious effort of, you know, if somebody comes in this scene, we want right in their face, hey, look, here's Splatoon tournaments. Here is what we're about. Here is the good stuff. Whether that be like links to actual live tournaments happening now or soon, or just, you know, VODs or clips or like some of the best that we have to offer. We've had such good, high quality events that even people in the scene don't know about. I'm looking at the LAN Championship Showdown that had so much viewership and so much hype around it, built for months and months and months, featuring like teams from all over the states representing different areas of the US. And I haven't seen a single clip from it or video about it or anything from it since it happened. We need to circulate some of those clips and content and just be like, hey, like this happened like what? How many months? Like 2-3 months ago? Not even that LCS happened. And we've just kind of forgotten about it, even though it had a lot of insane production quality and that we could use that to introduce people to the scene. You know, SAC just happened. A lot of high quality production went into it, a lot of technical difficulties as well, but there's still content to be made from that. And instead, all everyone's talking about is how poorly they think it went. And while there were obvious gripes with SAC, you know, there's a lot that we can still pull from it and say, okay, well, like now that it's done, the issue people had with it was like the waiting times. But now that it's done, the waiting times are gone. Now it's just free content that we can push out to the new viewers, the casual scene, the people who don't yet know what we're capable of, and we can show them how cool competitive Splatoon is. So, in a nutshell, that is how attraction to the scene is going to work. We need to advertise. We need to advertise intentionally. We also need to advertise subconsciously. And we need to just make content, make things. Start posting, post art, post 3D models, post like your modded FlexLine screenshots, your Blender models, do some speed paints, make podcasts, make videos, tier lists, rant about things in the internet, you know, make like just live stream and do things that are related to, adjacent to, and including Splatoon. And just bring people in, you know, just make people aware is the number one thing, is just bring them in some capacity. It's kind of the simplest of the two components of viewership, because it's the most straightforward. It's make people aware of Splatoon. It's the simplest part, yet I talked about it for 30 minutes. And I'm already getting my mouth is already dry, which is going to be great, because we're going into the second part, which is retention. How do we make people stay? Now we know how to get the players in. We know how to make people watch our esport. Why are they watching our esport? What are they here for? What do they want to see? What do we want to show them that will make them stick around? And this one, there's so much more nuance to this, because everyone's going to have their own reasons to watch. So retention is realistically, it's one of those things. There's nothing we can do incorrectly. The only way you can mess up in terms of player retention is by a lack of doing something. There's nothing you can really add that will not retain people in some capacity. To at least somebody will be interested no matter what we add. Obviously, a lack of things includes, you know, not telling people what acronyms mean. and not explaining to new players how things work, or a lack of storylines, a lack of all these other things. So before we go into retention, I do want to kind of cycle back, just a little bit, to a couple days ago. I mentioned that the next episode of Critical Linking, hi, you're here, is, happening. And I asked people, just what everyone's thoughts are about watching competitive Splatoon. And I just kind of left the question open, but a lot of people talked about why they like to watch or what they like to watch, which I think is going to be important going into the topic of retention, because now we can see what competitive players think about how they want to watch. And I kind of want to start to parallel some of these to the casual audience or the non-Splatoon audience for, other esports fans. So, Jordan said, a lot of the times only watch if I'm invested in the outcome, or if I know anyone of the team's playing, a meaningful reason to cheer people on. Six said, only watch if I know the people. So again, it's just knowing who the people are. Avril said they just don't care who the random pickup is. LCS is exciting because there's a team to root on. There's a team representing, the area you're from. Skep said, personally only watch if there's gameplay I want to study or commentary. It's good to see what's been playing after a patch. LCS was the exception. Top level is exciting to see. Snuppy only watches me. Tess said, just not into spectator sports in general. She also said, watch something for a bit while eating. Tournaments are hard to watch because I don't know who these people are 95% of the time and have no investment. And people usually pick garbage aliases when they're in PBs. Sean said it's really hard to get invested without knowing who the people are. Watch VODs of LANs just to, because everyone who's playing because you're there in person. Don't know what to expect next time from teams. And a lot of what Sean's saying is watching friends playing, and also here commentators have a responsibility to make people invested by sharing weapons and results at a minimum. Stuff gathered from quick skim of people's sendo profiles. Untapped potential. Casual Splatoon players that love to spectate tournaments, which again is what I've been going into this whole time. We need to tap into the competitive or the casual Splatoon audience. 100% agree with that. Tournament itself needs to have some stakes and makes a statement about who wins. If it's prizing on the line, curious to see who wins it. It's a significant rep in the community, like a low ink ban. Curious statement of the skills of players. Marks a milestone. So the general consensus here is that people like to watch when there's stakes, when they know what's going on, when it's exciting. Things have to be exciting. You're only going to watch something if you want to watch it. So what I want to do very quickly as we get into the retention topic is I want to give you guys an example. Now, this example isn't the most direct because I'm going to compare another esport to Splatoon, and this esport has a bigger budget, bigger audience. But there are still pieces of it that we can take away. Like there's values to be learned in how we are attempting to present our esport. So I'm gonna hope that this works. Let me, because I'm trying to play a video. Let's see what happens here.
This is going to be a crazy one. Gibbs, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Shogun, are you ready?
I want you all to watch this and see how engaging.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it, folks. Birmingham, welcome to the next level. Under the lights of the dome. The best story in the building. The greatest Cinderella of the season. We'll have to go through the highest flying squadron the league has to offer. Only one can continue in Birmingham. Only one story will earn another chapter. It's a ball, and the clock is approaching midnight. It's time to dance.
Twice, Team Falcons have...
Immediately, I want to watch that. I'm hoping the audio was fine. I should have checked beforehand. Double audio? Dang it! I knew something would go wrong. hopefully you could make out what they were saying. Was it legible? Should I just replay it with the audio not doubled? I think I know what was wrong. I knew I was gonna screw that up. Okay, so in that, like, sure, there's high level production. Like, they have the light show, they have all this other, like, the animated graphics, like the full, like, 3D shebang, and it's unfair to compare to Splatoon because we're grassroots. But you know, I am gonna play this again. I want you guys to focus on what they're saying, because I think the first thing I might as well talk about here is I want to talk about the quality of commentary. So I'm gonna play this again. I should have had more of a preamble first. I'm gonna play it again without doubled audio, and I want you just to listen to the commentary. If this will work.
Oh, this is going to be a crazy one. Gibbs, are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready. Undoubled the audio.
Shogun, are you ready?
Oh, absolutely.
Listen to this commentary
Bates,
going into
are
this.
you ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it, folks. Birmingham, welcome to the next level. Under the lights of the dome, the best story in the building, the greatest Cinderella of the season will have to go through the highest flying squadron the league has to offer. Only one can continue in Birmingham. Only one story will earn another chapter. It's a ball, and the clock is approaching midnight. It's time to dance.
Twice, Team Falcons have come here.
So again, there's so much right there. That immediately, that the commentary interests you long. It's only a minute. It's a minute long for like a hour-long game. I wouldn't call that too long. Now, immediately, like me personally, I'm hooked there. You've introduced both of your teams. You have, you know, GK Esports, the Cinderella story of the night. You know, they're the underdog. They're here to play. Everyone's cheering for them. They want them to go. They're against Falcons. You know, the high flying team. They're the most aggressive, the most fastest, the luchadors of the scene. You know, they're always up in the air. Like it's you know, it's their whole dynamic is what they're known for. In such a short amount of time, they've given you so much information on these teams and so much, like, you're engaged because of the way they've presented it, just in the way that they talk, like the cadence of the voice, the way it's synced up with the music, the way it's there. It just immediately makes you want to sit down and watch that game, or at least me personally, and I think a lot of other people would agree. Now, as a counter example, I'm going to use something of equal stakes, because this was a major. So I'm going to use the Splatoon Championship. Now, I will preface this by saying, using grassroots stuff is unfair. But this is Nintendo. Nintendo, you know, they can have a budget if they wanted to. And this is this is an intro to a match similar to how an intro to a match just happened for Rocket League.
Can Sayonara knock off Starburst, a team that is yet to lose a match in North American competition? You talk about dominance, or is it going to be Starburst that once again lets everybody know it's Starburst, then everyone else? Let's get set for our first game of the finals. Best of 7, Splat Zones, Brine, Water, Springs. You have Starburst in the magenta, and in the green, Sayonara, as they take to the turf for the first time here in the finals. 9, what do we got here, my friend?
Well, if there was ever a map that Q was going to go.
So there, like, you can see the difference there. Also, yeah, Gladius, that does make sense because the intro by itself might feel long. But right there, immediately, there's no stakes in the intro. Jordan does a good job at explaining, you know, there's Sayonara hasn't lost a game yet, but also, you know, Starburst is, you know, the big and the best. Like, they're always going to win. But it's very nonchalant. And when you're at, you know, the North American Championship, like the finals, and it seems like there's less emphasis on building up the hype and exciting the crowd, and more just on commentating. And now obviously, like it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to trying to think how to word this. Like, we're not there yet. This isn't to say that, like Splatoon commentators are bad and like, we don't know how to make things hype, but we can do it. We don't need all the big fancy flashing lights that like Rocket League has, but just the way that the commentators talk, the way that they try to introduce it is something that I think is lacking in the community. Yeah, exactly, Nox. Kind of giving golf announcer. It's a very different vibe. It doesn't feel like, which is interesting because I think Jordan also does like sports commentary outside of Splatoon. But it's the as a commentator, I like to talk a lot about this because like, it's something that I can relate to a lot. The commentators are the face of competitive in terms of the viewing experience. We are the person you're hearing. We are the ones that are trying to make you relate to this game and make you interested in this game. Gameplay by itself is not very engaging. Me personally, I am not good at watching Splatoon unless it's a tournament. I'm not a big fan of watching player POVs. Because I need a commentator to engage me. I need a person to lure me in. We talk a lot about how we need storylines. Who's the storyteller? It's the commentator. The commentators are the storytellers. They are the ones who are doing a lot of the work on the front end of the production. You have the people running the stream in the back end. The commentators are the ones on the front end. And I feel like there's not enough of an emphasis on that. I think that a lot of the commentary in our scene doesn't do the game enough justice in terms of trying to make it seem more exciting. Def reads as professional in a way that comes off as detached, and it's like fine. But if you seem detached, and the viewers are also going to be, acting like tethered to your engagement. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, too, where I'm not in, like, from that Splatoon clip, I'm not saying that Jordan Kent's commentary is bad. He does great commentary. Nintendo keeps inviting him back for the Splatoon World Championships and North American Championships because he is an amazing commentator. But because when you look at the Rocket League clip I showed, that is orchestrated. There is a person who writes down, who finds, okay, GK and Falcons are playing against each other. Let's make up like a minute long script to get someone to read off at the analyst desk to like hype up these teams. Like there is that effort is being put in somewhere, whether it be the actual analysts or commentators themselves, or whether it be a writer behind the scenes. But that is a minute-long dialogue, and it goes a long way to draw in a person. Because if again, like, you can show somebody that clip out of context and go, I want to watch this match now. I want to see, are the high flyers, the Falcons, going to win, or is the Cinderella story going to come true? Is it going to be GK? And we don't have that. When you go into a match in Splatoon, it just kind of starts. And then we talk about their weapons for about 30 seconds. And in that, the weapon thing, here, I'll read K-Bot's messages first. Some of the best moments in esports are the winning moments when a rehearsed line or two at the end, and I don't think we do enough in that commentary at all. Things allowed to be semi-scripted. Yes, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, at the end of that Rocket League one, where, they explain these two teams, and then they say, the clock's about to strike midnight. Like, let's have a ball or whatever. That, like, just that little one-liner, and then it breaks into like dubstep, and then the light show. Like, that is the moment. That is the moment that you're like, all right, I'm in. Like, I you know what? It's time to ball. I am here for the dance. Like, let's boogie. And so we don't really do that. And there have been events, me personally as a commentator, I've had times where I'm trying to like think of like a way to do that. Like when there's like a set where I'm like, okay, I need to think of these stakes. Ludi tonight is a great example because you know who's playing. So like you have time before, like, okay, like if there are stakes here, you know, a while back, what team, I need to look up what team it was. There was a Div X set on Ludi tonight that me and Rose of Battle commentated, and we thought it would be really funny to wear, like, dress up. Like I was wearing like a tuxedo, and like Rose wore a dress. And in that, yeah, it was Moonlight versus Floaters Grab a Life Fest. And there were stakes there because it was like these teams are going to go to playoffs. And so I was racking my brain trying to think of like a semi-scripted, like, how do I introduce these teams? And I don't remember the specifics because this was a while ago and we don't do it enough in the scene, so it didn't like stick with me. But I remember like something happened in terms of how the match started. Like they're either... I can't remember specifically, so don't quote me on this, but there either wasn't enough time for like me to get it out, or like there was another conversation between me and Rose happening, and it doesn't flow the way we want it to because it's not structured in. We aren't accounting for this. And I think that's a fundamental issue with Splatoon tournaments, is that we are not specifically planning for and allotting time to you know, building up the hype, especially in terms of what the commentators can do. And so, you know, it's one of those questions where should we start, well, the answer is yes, we should start trying to engage the commentators more and get a little bit more out of there. You know, start semi-scripting things, start finding, like, thinking about like a hype way to lead us into a match, or to even like prepare us for a match or after a match. You know, like some of the commentators here like have a lot of like, they're funny, you know, some of like the puns based on names people can come up with, like the phrases, like there have been really good one-liners that another commentator will say while I'm commentating with them. And I'm mad. I'm like, why couldn't I think of that? Why wasn't that me that thought of that and said that? Because that was so good. And we need more of that. We need people who can like, it's more than just talking about what you see on screen. There's a lot of just generic play-by-play. We need, you know, to go a step above and start thinking about the overall viewing experience. I think for me, it's different because I watch a lot of esports. So I do kind of have that viewer mindset where I'm constantly thinking like, what can I say or do here that would be interesting if I was watching? Which are easier ways to view prior team interactions or tournaments, because those would be such an easy way to understand the stakes and roll into banter. And that is an issue with Splatoon as a programmed game, is there's not an easy way for us to really have a lot of those stats without killing all of our volunteers from working too hard, because it's impossible. The CCA, God bless them, they can do a lot of that stuff because it's all contained in one, like, they have everything in one spot. Whereas with the general competitive scene, there's too many tournaments, there's too many events, there's too many like side things going on and one-time things, but also, you know, there's a DC here, so it doesn't really count, or like, oh, this was an Ascendo queue, so it doesn't really matter, and there's no consistent way to really bring this up. Which I will say, I have a future point I'm going to bring up that kind of goes into what Nox was saying. I do want to finish talking about commentary first, which, I mean, I guess I don't even have much else to say. I shouldn't ramble on this too long. Again, I think this episode, I have talked to many different people for many, many hours about viewership and Splatoon as a whole. And I could go on forever. I think the point of this episode is just to plant some of these seeds in our minds. You know, what are the things that we could be doing to improve viewership? So I'm trying to think if I have any immediate points on commentary, but now that I'm on the other track, I kind of want to move on to other things. So yeah, commentary as a whole in Splatoon, I think there is a lack. I think, me personally, like I said, I don't watch a lot of Splatoon because I play it. But as of now, I've been transitioning away from playing the game a little bit because I've been focusing more on commentary and more on this podcast and being a more of a personality in the scene rather than a player. Now, that means I've been watching more Splatoon because I play it less. So, that, and just to go back to that original anecdote, now that I'm playing less Splatoon, I'm watching it more, which goes to show that we need to make people who don't play Splatoon watch it. That is just a fact. But I also don't watch a lot of, as much as I should, because a lot of the time I just don't get engaged. It's not like I have like a list of commentators who I'm like, they're not good at commentary. There's nobody specifically that I'm like, I don't like their commentary. But there are times where I open up a stream and I'm not engaged. I'm not saying the commentary is bad, but it's not engaging. And that's the end of it. We don't have bad commentators. We just have commentators who seem like they don't care. And going back to what Nox said is if they're being professional, like, because commentators are on camera, they want to look good, they want to sound good, they don't want to mess up. And so they're being too prim and proper and professional, and they're just doing entry-level baseline play-by-play commentary that's not engaging the viewer, not being interesting, not being unique. And so I get bored immediately and go watch something else. In fairness, there hasn't been a lot of engagement about as of late, or a lot to be engaged about. Yeah, it kind of comes down to the commentators who have that drive. I think that commentary, it seems like TOing and production seem like something that people really want to do, but commentary just seems like an afterthought to a lot of people. Like, I got into commentary because I'm like, this is my thing. I want to do this. This is what I want to pursue. It seems like we have a lot of commentators who just do it as like a thing because they're bored. Who wins SOS 134, Paddling Pool 339 isn't exactly interesting. Exactly. And that's why I don't commentate weeklies. Not only do I play in a lot of them, but I've never commentated in SOS and I have no interest in doing it because as a commentator, I would be bored. I have commentated events and I have been bored. So that to a point where I've done it so many times that I've stopped commentating a lot of events because there's no, like, I look at it and go, no. And so I'm willing to give a lot of events a try. There are some events that when I look at it and like one of the TOs explains the event to me and says, do you want to commentate this? I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I believe in this project. If I believe in the project, that is when I will show up and I will put in that effort to try to commentate it. But I think something that's on the flip side of that argument is that our commentators need more practice. Our commentators need to not just commentating randomly for the sake of commentating. I would like to see our commentators start commentating things like weeklies, like SOS or Paddling Pool, but treating it like a scrim. Treating it like I am doing this to get better. SOS is where the commentator should be taking risks, where the commentator should be more outspoken. The commentator should be like putting themselves out there and being stupid, trying to make an entertaining and engaging show. So that when we have big events, not only do they have the experience and like a repertoire of old VODs they can show to these big orgs and say, hey, I'm a good commentator, look at my stuff. But the jitters are gone. The nerves are gone. They know how to craft sentences better. They have better wordplay. Some people tell me that I have an interesting way of talking. It's like, yeah, because I talk a lot. I keep talking. I do it a lot. And I start, I have a vision in my head of how I want to be perceived when I talk. And I just keep trying to push that until it happens. So our commentators need more experience trying to talk the way they want to talk. And specifically, they need to be more intentional. I think there is a lack of intention and a lack of direction from our commentators. In the quality of commentary, again, is not only in the commentators. I think that TOs and production people could do a lot more to help commentators. One of my biggest gripes, I commentated for SAC Season 10. The commentators felt like an afterthought. we were not informed of anything. We didn't know anything. A lot of the information for commentators was given like an hour or two before the event, and it was not even like it was just like if you happen to read the SAC commentator channel, then maybe you'll see it. Like it wasn't, there was no like prep day, the day before, a couple days before, to like get us all set up with the tech, and a lot of the tech issues could have happened because people weren't set up. We used new tech that we haven't used before. We use Video Ninja for audio. I've never done that, and a lot of people probably haven't done that. The new overlays and graphics, like people didn't have a chance to practice with them, and it seems like commentators are not given the opportunity to really like get involved in the process. I missed the thing that Vapor said. Not even just that, but going and promoting their streams and having conversations like this. Yes, and here's the thing too. Commentators are supposed to be like the personalities. Like when I watch esports, the commentators are my favorite thing. Like Rocket League, I love the players. I like the commentators more. The commentators are who I watch Rocket League for at this point. Because they're engaging, they're interesting, it's fun. It's nice to go and watch and have them engage me, have their personality shine, watch their predictions before every match to see who they're rooting for and who I should root for. And our commentators do that. We have a lot of commentators who don't have a social media following. They don't try to have a social media following. Half the time they don't even post when they're commentating a tournament. We need our commentators to be more of like esports personalities and not just players who also occasionally commentate. And so, yeah, having commentators just talk more and doing stuff like this here is practice for commentary. This is me sitting by myself in front of a camera for 1 to 2 hours and just talking by myself in a room and bouncing off of chat occasionally. This is great practice for just being able to commentate, because now I know how to ramble about a topic unscripted with like maybe a couple of vague ideas beforehand. And so it's just performative art skills. It's public speaking skills. Gladys said, can you show me an example of how commentary looks for Splatoon, a good and a bad example? Not right now, because I think I'd have to go sit down and look, and I don't have like a VOD off the top of my head where I'm like, oh, I know a time where commentators were bad. I don't focus on negatives like that. If I see like a boring commentary set, I just forget about it. So, I mean, if you're interested later, I could show you some examples if I find some, but that might just be a case of watching some Splatoon. I guess a good example is watching a weekly like SOS or Paddling Pool versus watching a major like LCS, like the upcoming World Splat Series, or Splat World Series, or bigger events with better commentators. That's another topic. I won't go into that topic, but I think we're at a weird point in the scene where there's a lot of commentators who are very overvalued because there's the longevity of it and there's the popularity of it. But I think that there are some commentators who still are trying to push a little bit more for commentating, but aren't getting that time to shine. Anyway, I'm getting behind the chat. Real problem is we don't have any production logistics people behind the scenes in Splatoon. We only really have production people. Yes, K-Bot, that's a good point. And that's a thing that I've been pushing for a while, but it's still difficult. There are so many roles in this scene that we do not have. We don't have a lot of analysts. We don't have a lot of production logistics people. We don't have a lot of just like data like grabbers, like people to go find a lot of information. There's a lot of things missing in the scene. And on that too, actually I'll talk about, there's another thing I want to bring up and I'll talk about a bit later because it's slightly off topic. So I'll keep that. Nox, bad example might be a bit iffier to do. Exactly, because I don't have like, there's no, like, I don't have any commentators I think are bad. I just think there are some commentators that just aren't inspired, or like, it's just, because commentary doesn't have to be a big thing. Commentary can be a hobby. You can do anything you want, but, I would rather work with somebody who's as engaged as I am, because I'm trying to grow as a commentator. I want to work with somebody who I can bounce off of and really get engaged. Where's my Splatoon 3 happy feet wombo combo moment? Literally, we need people just to be memorable, do something, and I'm probably a hypocrite because my thing is I get very robotic. I've got some of that fun brain stuff where I'm weird, and so sometimes when I'm commentating, I do kind of get more like straight back. I get very like I fall into the same thing that someone like Jordan Kent might, or at least in terms of perception, where it's very professional, very golfy, because I get kind of robotic sometimes when I'm talking. I get very systematic. And a lot of me doing this podcast and doing more commentary is trying to push out of that shell and push my boundaries of how exciting I can be. Because when I talk to people in a voice chat, when I talk to people in person at LANs, even on this, I have a bit more oomph because it's a casual thing. I'm just chilling. But as soon as it's commentary, it's official. It's like, oh, this is an event. So I'm trying to break down that shell. In fairness, most of us that have been doing commentary thing the longest maybe tired of doing it, that at one point in time, or maybe tried doing it at one point in time, but had other priorities in life to build up our own personal social medias. Yeah, and I'm willing to put in a VOD or two of mine. There's one thing I was thinking of with a few scripted lines that I worked in. If you like, okay, that would be interesting to see, K-Bot. But yeah, so it's yeah, with the whole like older commentators thing, that is true. Like because I've talked to a lot of like the old guard of commentary, especially at this past MomoCon. I was hanging out with a lot of the commentators, and a lot of the old Splatoon commentators don't even play Splatoon anymore. And so I'm not like, they're still good commentators. They're still some of the best commentators we have. But what I'm currently vying for is for some of the new blood commentators, these like young, hungry commentators who are like interested in it, to start grinding, to push to a point where their commentary exceeds the old guard. Because I think that a lot of these older commentators aren't actively improving their commentary. They're at their peak and they're staying there. And we need people to push back that peak. We need like the new commentators to really get up there. And there are a lot of new commentators who are really good and who are pushing that, and who, given the right opportunities and the right resources, can grow. But there is fundamentally a lack of a lot of resources and opportunities for new commentators, because whenever a big event happens, no commentary form is put out, no nothing's put out. The TOs reach out to the old commentators, say, hey, do you want to come back? And they say, sure. And then that's the end of the story. And then we end up with the same lineups over and over and over again for big events. So that's a side note. That's something that I don't want to, like, I have a lot of stuff in the background I'm working on to try to improve my own commentary, as well as trying to encourage other commentators. That's for another day, because there's a lot of stuff that's work in progress, but that's hopefully in the pipeline. Anyway, yeah, so I think fundamentally commentary is important for attention. We are the storytellers. We are the ones that are engaging the audience. We're talking to the audience. If you aren't having fun, how's the audience going to have fun? And on top of that too, I want to go back to the social media thing. Let's say somebody, I've always said that if anyone's looking to improve in commentary and wants to VOD review with me, we're happy to watch back and match give an option. And we need stuff like that. Like that is beautiful. The fact, like, I did not know you did that, honestly, K-Bot. That is good to know. Yeah, so with commentary, it's, let's say somebody new to Splatoon falls down the rabbit hole. They get introduced because they found something in social media, and they go to watch a live Splatoon tournament. And then they watch a tournament. They like the commentators. The commentators are fun. They're engaging. They're like, oh, like, these guys sound cool. I want to see more. And then they go to their social media. They go to their tag Blue Sky, and they have like 20 followers. They haven't posted in 3 months. And it's like, okay, well, now what? Versus if we, it helps to have commentators that have a presence, that have opinions, that talk about things, that do things. Because then it's, you follow the commentators, you're engaged with them, if they tell the stories that you like, you're going to want to go see them tell more stories. You're going to continue to watch them. And so I think that commentary is going to be, going forward in the growth of Splatoon, commentary is going to be very important. I don't think enough emphasis is being put on that in the production side of a scene. A lot of the efforts right now are going into increasing production value, which is important. Production value is important. But we also need to include the commentators in that discussion. I think that commentators shouldn't just be a thing that TOs and production people assign and then forget about it. We should be included in the processes. We should be in that background, in that discussion. And, you know, we also need to find more information on things, which slightly transitions me into another topic of retention, which is mostly about commentary, but also involves other things, just, you know, storylines, stakes, engagement, everything about the event itself. Splatoon is a notoriously hard game to do any of this. You know, the pickup culture is hard to make storylines. Top players using aliases, so you don't know who the heck you're even watching play the game. There's a lot of roadblocks we have that make it difficult to engage the viewer. But there are many solutions to this. Primarily, something that I think, it is too easy to sign up for a Splatoon tournament. It is too easy to sign up for a Splatoon tournament. If you are running a tournament, if you're a TO, and you are having a streamed tournament, you have a live stream, you should have a sign-up form. Period. You should have a form that the team has to fill out. They have to give you the team name, the roster, pronunciations for the names of the players, pronouns for your players, weapon lists. Give me some recent results. Yes, like the Riptide team info blurbs. I wish I had a picture of it. At Riptide, they get the commentators a binder full of pages and pages and pages and pages of player-submitted information about their teams. It's great. Why don't we do that for everything? If we want teams to, if we want, you know, commentators to know information about teams, the commentators need that information. We can't be responsible for digging through somebody's Sendo page for like maybe accurate information. Get the players to tell us themselves, you know, especially if it's a recurring tournament. If we have SOS as an example, I'll use it because it's a weekly that I play in all the time. If you sign up for SOS and, you know, maybe SOS isn't a good example because there's a 99% chance you're not on stream. Maybe, okay, let's say Low Ink. Low Ink is a good example because it's skill capped. For anyone watching who doesn't know, Low Ink is a low level cap tournament that when you win the tournament, you get banned. Like, you're not allowed to come back because you're too good. It is made for people who are low level. So the one of the goals in the community is to get banned from this tournament because it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, low level tournament. When you sign up for Low Ink, maybe require the players to give their previous Low Ink results up for like the last couple months, if applicable. Just like have like do you have you played Low Ink recently? Yes or no? If so, how have you done? Give us your rivals. Tell us who your rivals are. Give us information. Like here, I didn't have this pulled up previously because I forgot. I'm going to quickly pull up. So I mentioned I'm a fan of a lot of esports. I recently watched the Classic Tetris World Championships that happened not too long ago. And in this tournament, I feel like that could definitely be a lot of scope creep for the entirety of Low Ink. But maybe on day 2 for those who make bracket. Well, exactly. And you can make it how you want. You know, TOs could make it so that it'd only be day 2 for Low Ink, for example, where like that's where it matters. That's where the stakes are because it's alpha bracket. But still, like, my fundamental thing, we have spoiled Splatoon. Splatoon players are spoiled. Splatoon players do not have it hard enough. We need to make signing up for tournaments harder. We need to have harsher TOs that have harsher rules and like follow their rule sets and don't give a damn what players say. But signing up for a tournament, filling out okay, Low Ink is a monthly tournament. It's a 2-day event. You're spending minimum 6 hours probably playing Splatoon, if not more. Like in Low Ink. You can spend 10 to 15 minutes filling out a form about your team. 10 to 15 minutes, and then you get 8 hours of gameplay over 2 days or more. And if you run a consistent team, you just copy and paste from the last form. If your team name's the same, the player's the same, your weapon pool's the same, it's all the same. Just update. All you have to do is add recent results, maybe your result from last Low Ink, maybe update your thing if you have like a new team that's your rival or a team that you're excited to fight that signed up. It doesn't take a lot. It's not a lot of effort. And Splatoon players are scared of putting effort into things at this point, from what it seems. Anyway, so Splatoon World Championship Classic Tetris World Championship happened recently. And in the event, I'm going to wait for this ad to finish playing because it's a mobile game ad that I don't want to put on my screen. They have the bare minimum, and it's so good. But I now need to find it. When you are getting ready for a match, let's do, what's this? Dog versus Scooty? Or sorry, Alex T versus Scooty? Hell yeah. Give me that. Let me find the beginning of the match. Give me 1 second. I'm simply a boy. Okay, here. Look at this. This is the screen. I'm not sure if you can read it actually, but basically, okay, it's very tiny on this screen setup, so we'll ignore that. But basically, where the play fields are for Tetris, while they're not playing, it's blacked out, and it just says their name, their age, where they're from, their player submitted bio, so all of their results, they can mention that they're a student, what they're going to school for, stuff like that. Player infos, what their play style is, what kind of controller they use, all of their PBs. They have an interest thing where they can talk about, Blue Scooty mentions he likes to play with his dog, and he plays Minecraft, and he can drive a car now because he's 16 or 15. And then Alex T's into rock climbing and swimming. Immediately I care more about these people. I mean, I already knew who they were, but if I was tuning into this for the first time, immediately I'm more invested in these people, because if I don't know who these are and I don't know who to root for, and I go, oh, you know what? This guy likes Valorant, so do I. Fuck it. I'm voting for him now. It's simple little things like that. Just fun little information. Give the viewer something to read on screen. Give the commentator something to talk about. It doesn't take much. It takes 2 seconds to fill out a form, tell us what you're interested in, and immediately make me more engaged. There are a lot of Splatoon players in the scene who I've never talked to, who I've never engaged with. They're not really mutuals of mine, but I still root for them in tournaments because I know something about them. Maybe there's somebody who I saw at a LAN one time or played against at a LAN. And people I just play against in general. If I recognize somebody's name because I've seen them somewhere, I'm more likely to root for them. And so immediately telling me fun facts about them or who their rivals are makes me more likely to care. It's not that difficult. And that is how we single ounce more connection drives engagement up. Yeah, it doesn't take much. Do you know how happy I get when I find out that another Splatoon player lives in the same region that I do? I feel like everyone gets like that. As soon as you learn that somebody lives near you, and obviously I'm not saying that Splatoon players should dox themselves. That's not what I'm saying. But the sense of community, the sense of togetherness, the sense of inclusion and being a part of something is the important thing. And so that's so simple by just saying, hey, this person likes to go walk their dog, and go, I have a dog. What's your dog's name? Whoa. I'm like that for all the players that live in my state. Exactly. Yeah. I live in rural Canada. So as soon as I find out anyone lives here, I'm like, oh my God, yes, please join our local Discord server and everything. But it's, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to care about a person. Humans are very personable. We're very we're a species that likes to interact. How long is stream gonna last? Gladius, I'm gonna be yapping for a while. I don't know why you're still here. You don't play Splatoon. This is on you. I'll see it. Vapor, you say that it's impossible to find people in my region. I found someone last night. Was it last night? What day is it? Yeah, last night. I was playing with my low ink pickup, and I was talking about my time zone, and someone said, "Oh, my teammate's in that time zone," and I DM'd their teammate, and sure enough, they're from the Maritimes. Imagine the face I made when I found out that a person from my first comp pickup Riptide lived 15 minutes away. Yeah, like it's so easy to make a connection, and it's so easy to make someone care. And that's the point I want to get about with storylines and stakes and engagement is the easiest. We need more of this, all of these things. And the easiest way to do that is with information. The commentators, I remember I was talking with Jordan Squidoku about, and they were talking about how they commentate FTIU a lot, and so that they know the history of these teams. They know when a matchup is a repeat. They know which teams have made what placements. Like it's knowledge about that one tournament, and that's why I'm like, yeah, that's why I would probably be a worse FTIU commentator, because I don't know this information. I don't know the stakes. I don't understand the rivalries, and so it's unfair for the commentators to have to know this, because it's so hard to research in the scene when teams are constantly being formed and disbanding, and when, pickup culture is such a huge thing. And so having, application forms when signing up for a tournament to tell us, like straight up, like if you're signing up to Low Ink, tell me your team name, tell me about your team, tell me about your players, like pronunciations for the names or pronouns, etc. Tell us which team in Low Ink you want to fight the most. Tell us which teams you're friends with, or who you're rivals with. Just give us. Don't you have to be specific and give us 6 months of your record against every team? Just tell us which teams you have a rivalry with. And then if the commentators see, oh, they're playing against each other, let's talk about that. It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be that in depth, because again, commentators are storytellers. Commentators are we do improv. We don't need every single little detail. Details are nice. Statistics are important. But if I see that two teams are rivals, even if I don't know who they are or what they play or what they do or who they are, I can still make something work there. I can go, okay, well, they're rivals, so I'm gonna juice this up. I'm gonna gas it up a little bit. I'm gonna talk like they really know who they are. Just the way that I commentate will be different, because I know that there's some fake, fun, friendly beef there, and we don't need much, especially if you have a commentator who really is able to put themselves out there. Tournament organizations create a new role called script writers. Now we can escape tournaments that are scripted. Yeah, well, it's fully script tournaments, including the matches, everything. That's how we get the content. But no, it really is just the commentators, I think, should be able to run with something and be able to improv and be able to create a story out of nothing. But we shouldn't give them nothing. Commentators should be held to a higher standard to be able to produce the engagement. But I think that the TOs, the producers, and other people behind the scenes working on a tournament should be creating tools for the commentators. Again, just a simple sign-up form, a simple commentary sheet, something to go off of, something to give us a little bit of a background going in, especially for tournaments that don't have a basis to go off of. Maybe something like Sendoku Finals, something like SAC. That information is more readily available. It's an invitational. Who's playing in the finals. Who's going to be there, so you have time to prepare. But it's still, the more information, the better. The more resources, the better. There's never going to be too many resources to pull from. And yeah, that's basically that. Is just, we need more information from various things. The players need to give us more, people need to talk more about their teams. People need to be selfish and talk about themselves, genuinely. The only things I see teams post about is whatever placement they get in a tournament with like a screenshot. Cool. Talk more in your personal, private, like, and your individual player social media accounts. Just talk about other people, talk about other teams, talk about how your games go. Just talk more about stuff. Let us know about who you are. Promote yourself, advertise yourself, you know? Another issue is that many players, when they submit something, they never give any... Yeah, I'm assuming you meant to say information, which is kind of funny. You said people don't fully finish typing stuff, and then you didn't finish typing. Yeah, people seem to know who they are, and that's the worst thing. You know what? I kind of want to talk about branding and promoting, which this is a topic that transcends both factors of viewership. This transcends the attraction and the retention. This is both. Branding and promotion will draw in new viewers and keep existing viewers, because people like to rally behind somebody. People like to have something to cheer for, to root on, to read into, to be interested in. And so there's such a fundamental lack of advertising in our scene. Gonna be long on the dip. I mean, yeah, Gladius, I'm gonna be going for like at least another half an hour probably. But thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. So there's a very huge, obvious issue in our scene with branding and promotion in like every aspect. The teams disbanding quickly, pickup culture, even top players aliasing. A recent trend has been 8s, which is 8 people playing in just like a PB, but they like use randomized teams and they kind of switch out every couple rounds, you know. So it's not a scrim. It's a pickup scrim. It's 8 people scrimming and they just keep randomizing the teams. And in those 8s, they all, like, out of principle, all of the top level players use aliases every time. Which is so funny to me because you're streaming. A lot of these players will stream these 8s and they will use aliases. It's so counterproductive and I don't understand it. For as far as I can tell, the point of the aliases is so that they can't get clipped, maybe, or just to be funny. But you're live streaming. If you are live streaming your gameplay, it stands that you are probably actively trying to build a brand. You are actively trying to promote yourself, to build onto the community, you know? So why are you harming your own brand by using a dumb joke or random characters or something as a name? And you're not, then you can't trace it back to yourself. It hurts your own viewership. It hurts the viewership of the scene at large. There's no benefit to using aliases. Like, genuinely. I can't think of a single reason to use an alias. Ever. Unless you're doing a pickup and you are aliasing to put a tag on with your normal name. Because the only thing I can think of in terms of that for aliasing is so you can't get clipped. So people that don't know it's you, so if you do bad, then they can't trace it back to you. And if that is reason, like, I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to take a sip of water before I talk. All right. Here's my take. This goes out to all the top players in the scene. If the reason you are aliasing in whatever, or changing your name, your in-game name to be something that's not what you go by online, if you are doing any of that because you want to avoid getting clipped, you want to avoid getting trash talked, you want to avoid whatever, grow the hell up. Take a loss. Who cares? Nobody cares that you lose. Nobody cares that you win. What people care are you getting better? Are you fun to watch? And, like, give me a reason to root for you. It's fun when my team that I'm voting for loses. I like it when the people that I want to win lose, because then I want them to win even more. It drives me to follow their story. Like Moonlight, America's Sweetheart. every time they lose, I want them to win even more. I stand behind them even further because I want them to succeed. As soon as you start succeeding, you're no longer the underdog, and then people start to care less. You know, look at like Starburst, for example. People stop cheering for them because they know they're going to win. Everyone likes Starburst. People just don't want to root for them because what's the point? So if you're aliasing because you don't want to lose, you're going to lose as a video game. If you don't want to lose, go play a single player game. Like, genuinely, I don't understand aliasing. I would love to have a discussion with a top level player. If there's a top level player who wants to sit down and have a chat with me about aliasing and why you think it's worth it, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me. I would love to dissect your brain as to why aliasing is the thing. I don't understand it. I have been trying to wrap my head around it since they added aliases to the game, and I genuinely do not know. All right, I probably missed a bunch of chat messages doing that. I feel like the straightest shot to addressing that issue is figuring out for certain what your aim is through either hosting or playing a tournament. Mindless perpetuation isn't super interesting. A lot of our rivals cleared this tourney, and we said we can get on par. We're catering to unconventional weapons. It's intentional advertising is a big thing, like promoting what you are for. Because here's the thing I didn't talk about previously that I wanted to bring up briefly. When you are running a tournament and you are streaming it, everything you do is either for the player or for the audience. And that should be a conscious decision. Look at SAC. The reason SAC 10 struggled was because there was a lot of decisions they made that were viewer focused. But they didn't hard commit to the viewer focus. And so it made players unhappy because the emphasis wasn't on them and that they had a bad experience, or like a worsened experience, rather. I don't think they had a bad experience per se. But then they tried to make it up to the players, but then it made the viewer experience not as great. And it's like there was less intent with a lot of it. It was more, here's cool ideas, but then didn't put as much thought behind it. And so I think that a lot of people don't have a lot of intent behind their actions. In TOing, in commentary, in playing the game, there's a lack of intent. People are just doing it to do it. And I have a whole video I made a long time ago on my YouTube channel where I talked about that, like having intent and putting in that effort, putting in that like that investment into what you're doing and how you're trying to do it. But yeah, so I agree on that front. There's just a lot of, why are you doing something? And that can go a lot of different ways too. That could be a reason for a commentator to talk about a team if you know why a team is playing a tournament. Or again, like creating a tournament, if you're making it viewer focused, you tell the players, hey, the point of this event is for viewers. This is a viewer experience. You are here to help make a cool event. So you're going to have longer wait times. You're going to have all this other crap, but like you are here to put on a performance. So play your heart out in those games and make this look great. That's what you're here to do. You're here to shine. People are going to want to follow you after this because you're going to look good. It's not to play a tournament and win. It's to show off. Versus a player-focused event, which shouldn't even be streamed at that point. You can have a stream, but the focus is the players and their experience. I think there's a lack of that in the community, and I might like talk about that more as an individual topic someday, but yeah, that's something that I definitely want to go on a side tangent on someday, but it's already been almost 2 hours, and I should eventually stop yapping. Yeah, so God, there's so much I can talk about with branding and promoting, but just it ties back into everything I've talked about today, which is that we need consistency. We need something to follow. We need something here. We need to promote our tournaments and brand things and push it out to the public. We need to be able to create a following. If people want to look something up, they need to be able to find it. They need to be able to find these top level teams. You know, it's when I was at MomoCon, a casual Splatoon player came up to me and was like, hey, like, what's all this? Is this a Splatoon tournament? I was like, yeah. And immediately they asked me 3 questions. They said, Is Kyo here? Is Prochara here? And is Moonlight here? Those are the 3 questions they asked me when approaching me. Because that's branding. Two popular YouTubers / streamers, like content creators, and then the best branded Splatoon team in the West. That's all they knew. They didn't know anything about competitive Splatoon. When they walked up to me, they said, "What?" Well, they asked me a 4th question, or like the first question, which is, "What's your X power?" They don't know what Ludi div. I think they knew what Ludi was, but they didn't realize that Ludi divs were how people like use skill level in the West. They're like, "Oh, like what's your X power? Like what S plus are you at?" Like they that's what they assume because they're not in the scene, like that far into the scene. And so we need people who are branded enough that casual players can look at it and understand. People can look at Moonlight and go, "Oh yeah, this makes sense. This is a competitive team. There's 4 people. They play together a lot. They win, they lose. We want to root for this." They're not afraid to be who they are and to not win an event. They don't have to alias and use a random pickup name so that if they lose, they can have copium. And the branding issue is interesting because I think everyone's basically on an agreement that branding and promotion is important. I haven't seen anybody really say like, "Oh, we shouldn't be branding things. We shouldn't be promoting it." But it's one of those things that it's like, if you're not helping the issue, if you're not helping find a solution, you're kind of contributing to the issue, because the issue is that nobody's branding. So if you're sitting there not branding, then you're not helping the problem. I think the other part of it too is just that people assume they'll get the cred through simply playing good enough, which is like sometimes, yeah, but you need to strive to be interesting and knowledgeable, period. If it's even too directly, ooh, good at the video game. Exactly. You know, there are... When the Ludi divisions were announced this season, season 16 of Ludi, I genuinely did not recognize or know or have ever heard of the majority of DivX and the majority of Div 1 and anybody. Like, it's... Being good at the video game means nothing. And that is a separate issue that I kind of wanted to talk about, is that there's a lot of people in the top level who I don't think want Splatoon to be an esport. I think that there are people that want to play this game because it's fun, but they don't want it to be like a big thing. They don't want to be perceived. And I think that is fine. I think that if you don't want to be perceived, if you want to keep this as like a hobby, this is just like a fun game you play, but you play it competitively. But that's what X Battle's for. That is what even like Sendoku and like scrims are for. But if you're actively playing in tournaments all the time, if you're streaming your content, if you are live streaming your gameplay, if you are uploading to YouTube, if you are entering tournaments with high stakes, you are signing up for the wrong thing. Esports is competitive gaming, not even esports. Competitive gaming is a performative art. If you don't want to be perceived, if you don't want to perform, then go play X Battle offline. Like, don't stream it. Just don't record it. Just play X Battle. Play opens with other strong players. But why are you entering a tournament? What value is there to entering a tournament if you don't want people to watch you? If you don't want people to see you playing, if you don't want people to judge you, if you don't want people to root for you, it boggles my mind, because it is a performative art. You are here to perform. It's like a sport. Do you think athletes ever like practice their sport and then you go, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to like be perceived. I just want to like be really good at it and do it. Like, and like, yes, there are people that might be like that, but and then they do that. They don't go into tournaments. They don't go to competitions. They just do it on their own. But we have people who seemingly don't want to be competitive esports competitors who are signing up for big lucrative tournaments. And it's such a weird mentality to me. Like it's like signing up for a talent show and then being like, I have to go on stage. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because you can have a talent. You don't have to perform in front of people. Just don't sign up for a talent show. So, there's a weird mentality issue, and I think ultimately the solution to that is making events that cater to the people that really want to push the Splatoon scene further as an esport. Because I don't think there's any benefits to us keeping the Splatoon scene like not like an esport. We're actively harming ourselves if we all decide, no, we're going to keep things chill and casual here. Because there's a lot of benefit to pushing further and to get bigger and better. And so I think that it's important that we also promote a new generation of people to grow. We find these people who are motivated to improve, who want to become better, who are into being part of that limelight and being part of the experience for people to cheer them on, to mourn with them when they lose, to encourage them to get better, and to really elevate those players. So the branding and promoting thing, there's so much I want to talk about genuinely. I could go for so many hours talking about everything viewership based and promotion and branding, and there's so much to talk. I love this game. There's so much I want to talk about. But for the sake of this recording, this podcast, because this will be, the VOD will be up on YouTube. Hi VOD watchers. I do have to end it eventually. So I think this is probably a good spot to just kind of quit. Because I think that there was a lot we talked about today that has helped kind of, I feel like there was ideas were formed here. I think that like a lot of you watching gave some good feedback. I think that like this discussion was productive. I think that there's a lot to take away from here, and I'm hoping that at least some people, whether you're a player, whether you're a TO, a commentator, a production, whatever, there's something to take away here, that there's so much we can do to improve viewership. To kind of, recap as a whole. Here, I'm actually going to change a topic to the original question, which is, why does competitive Splatoon lack viewership? We need to change our target audience. We need to pull in casual players. We need to pull in people who like esports. We should not be advertising spectating to competitive players. The competitive Splatoon players should be playing in the events. They can watch, but we should be marketing to other people instead. We need to advertise, promote, just push things on different websites across the internet in other spaces that aren't our own. Utilize social media, just expand. Just again, the competitive Splatoon is a rabbit hole. We need to dig that hole deeper. We need to make the hole wider. We need to fill a field full of rabbit holes. We need to make it impossible to avoid it. We need to just expand and grow in all aspects. There is nothing that we can do that will not improve our ability to gain viewers except for doing nothing. Doing nothing is the only way we're not going to improve. And yeah, just we need more content. We need more things. We need more stuff. Start making game shows, make podcasts, make like tier list videos, make like banter videos. Start like uploading funny compilations from streams, your tournament POVs, speed paints, anything Splatoon related to get people to come here. Yeah, we need to get sillier. Exactly. Like we don't even need more competitive content. We just need more content as a whole. We need to start making things. We need it so that when people are on YouTube and they're recommended, it just says competitive Splatoon, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, huh? Or even just like, Splatoon Jeopardy, and like, oh, I like Splatoon, and they watch it, and then it's like, here's our contestants today, and they're all competitive players. Like, oh, there's competitive Splatoon, and then they go in the rabbit hole. It's not that hard. Spread the word, talk about the game, like just talk about how fun Splatoon is in just communities. And again, there's so much we can do to improve. Production's improving, commentary can improve. There's so much. There's so much we can do. And I'm excited for the future. I think that there is definitely improvement coming, but it needs to be more, and we need to start talking about it. That's the point of this podcast, is to talk. We need to start opening these dialogues about how we can improve the scene, because people keep talking like it's all, we focus too much on the negative. People say, oh, nobody watches Splatoon because it looks like it's for kids. Oh, nobody watches Splatoon because it's boring. Oh, blah, blah. Like, no, nobody's watching Splatoon because we're advertising to people who play Splatoon. We're advertising our tournaments to people who are already signed up to play the tournament. You know how many times I get pinged to watch a low ink while I'm playing a low ink? It's redundant. It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. We need to promote outside. Go to the thousands of people who may be interested who don't know it exists. Also, Game Changer but Splatoon. That would be very funny. Yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. I think that the last 2 hours have been productive at the very least. I think that I'm hoping that anyone here live, anyone who's watching the VOD, anyone who may have even just heard a discussion based on this episode on social media after the fact or like in a voice chat, can take something away from this and build something to improve the scene. Me personally, I have multiple projects in the background I've been working on for months. This is one of them that exists to help grow the scene. So like I'm trying to do my part to just improve the scene by bringing in as much things as I can and to make more content, make more things, just talk about the game more and do more. Again, more is the big word here. More. We need quantity and quality, but we need quantity. I think that's the main takeaway here. So I'm going to stop rambling because I will talk in circles for hours. Thank you all for watching. Again, if you are still here, whether it's live, whether it's the VOD, I appreciate you for watching. If you want to talk more about things that we talked in this episode or any other episode of Critical Inking, please go on social media, use hashtag Critical Inking so it's easier for myself or other viewers to find what you're talking about. Or just in general, go on social media, go in voice chats, go in Discord communities, talk more about Splatoon and the state of the scene and how we can make it better, because I always want to hear new innovative ways that we can really do to improve the scene. I have been Hammy, also known as Hammy in the Wall. You can find me right down here at hitw.inc on Blue Sky, or the URL, or any other social medias at Hammy in the Wall. Thank you all for watching. This has been longer than the first episode. I have more episodes of Critical Inking in the pipeline. Again, these will be inconsistent, kind of as needed, basically. When I feel like it would benefit the community for me to make another episode and start opening those dialogues, I will make one. In the meantime, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you very, very much. I love this game, and I hope you all do too. And I will see you guys another time. I'll catch you around.